Good evening. Good to have everybody. Looks like maybe the postcards got delivered. Have a few more people here tonight. We're going to start off with a word of prayer and followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you would please stand. Heavenly Father, we just want to thank you for our community. Thank you for the citizens who make up this wonderful area. And Lord, we just ask you to please be with us tonight, that we might make the best decisions possible, not only for today, but for our future. We just ask your blessing upon this evening. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, roll call. Henry is present. Scott present. Dr. Sanders
Here.
Mr. Cornman here. Mr. Ferris here. Mr. Ellis.
I'm here, but not all here.
And Dawn Durnall.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, it's not on the agenda, but I'm going to entertain a motion to approve the minutes from last time's meeting.
And we have them here in hard copy this time, actually.
So moved.
Second. All right, approve the minutes. I vote yes. Scott?
Yes.
Jerry?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
William?
Yes.
Dawn? Motion
Yes.
passes.
All right, we have a public comment opportunity at the beginning of the meeting and also at the end of the meeting. So at this time, is there anybody in the audience who would like to come up and speak? If so, please come up to the podium and sign your name and share with us whatever your thoughts are tonight. Anybody? Yes, sir.
I'm coming first out of selfishness because my dinner awaits me after. I'm Jim Perry. I'm a member of the subcommittee on, now get this connection here, parks, recreation, and cemeteries. Why the three are together, I'm not quite sure, but and I want, since we got a great public turnout, now our subcommittee met with the park board. Jimmy Durnall is the chair. Jimmy, are you chair? Is that accurate?
I'm the president. Yeah.
President of the park board, which I learned is under Indiana Code 36 is sort of a state entity, and it's also identified under ordinances within the town of Ellettsville, and I've got that information from the meeting on Monday night. But we're having a public session tomorrow night in the Department of Public Works building. Is that accurate?
That is
Yeah,
what it is.
it's back there, and apparently you get through it by traversing around Town Hall and taking a left and going.
If you go by the town hall, it naturally 90s to the left, and you go back to the building, and there's plenty of parking.
Yeah, and so this is Parks, Recreation, and Cemeteries, if you're interested or want to comment on that. We did have one topic of conversation on Monday night, and that's if the township merges with the town, what happens to the parks? And there are apparently a couple of county parks in the township geographic area, and those would remain with the county, as I understand it now. But so those are some of the issues that would sort of confront these subcommittees as they're discussing merger, consolidation, reorganization of some sort. And I've sort of leave that, a variety of terms we can use to describe that. But we're meeting 6 to 8 p.m. Thursday night, the 5th, and then 6 to 8 p.m. Thursday night, the 12th. One reason why we're in a little bit of a hurry is because the Reorganization Committee wants our report, I think, by the 4th of March, is it?
27th for rough.
27th, a rough draft, and then one more final document on the 4th of March. But And maybe the Reorganization Committee for the audience tonight could indicate your future meeting dates. That I think would also be helpful if somebody wants to come to this meeting and comment during the meeting. But I'm happy to, I will sort of stick around a bit, but I may not be here at the end of the meeting. I don't know how long it's going to go. But I certainly will be happy to see people. Paula Anderson and Valerie Dewar are the other two subcommittee members, so there are three of us on the subcommittee, and we'll be meeting, as I say, in the Department of Public Works building tomorrow, and then next week I think we're back in the town center, if I'm correct, but I could be wrong on that. But if you do come on the 12th and are looking for us, you don't have to look very far. We're not going to go very far, since I got my rollator here, and that's my best way of getting around. And the snow will still be here in a week. So thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Jim. And since Jim asked, we meet every other Wednesday. So the next meeting will be February 18th, and the meeting after that will be March 4th.
Jared,
Yes,
if I
sir.
may. So, you're right, Jim. The next meeting will be on the 12th, and it'll be at the town hall. Denise, are you here? Yeah. Do you want to announce your public meeting?
Good evening. The Planning and Zoning Subcommittee will have a public meeting in this meeting room on February 17th at, from 6 to 8. And we'd like the public to come out and attend and talk about some zoning districts we're thinking of, and we'd really like to hear from everybody about what they would like to see for the township and town. So, thank you.
Thank you, Denise.
And I think I'll just go ahead. Zach, you're having a safety subcommittee next Tuesday meeting here between 6 and 8. Is that correct? 6 and 7:30, okay. Just thought I'd announce them since we're going through the list.
And we have our website. What's the address, William?
Ellettsville-Richland-info.org.
Okay. That's another good place to go. Hopefully, we'll be updating that and keeping everybody up to speed on what's going on. So that's a good place to check out, too.
You might get me those meeting dates and locations, I'll get them on the website.
Okay, yeah, I think they are putting them on there, but I'll send them to you as well.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Like I said, there'll be public comment at the end if anybody is still thinking about coming forward. So the first item that we're going to address tonight is to review quotes from Banning Engineering in Shelton to provide maps for election districts. Who's presenting that?
Did you want
So
to?
you have two proposals in front of you. One is from Banning Engineering to prepare election district maps. Their proposal is for $19,400, and then you have a second estimate from Shelton Specialties to provide, I think he said 5 council districts, and his estimate is $6,500.
Any discussion?
I've worked with David Shelton before, from Shelton Specialties, and he made substantially less than the other one. He is actually the county clerk in Knox County, so he's very familiar with the election law and how districts have to be drafted. And it will have 5 council districts, and it's not in the proposal, but in talking to him, I think he knows that the governance subcommittee may The at-large, he wouldn't have to draw a district. At-large is just at-large, everybody votes, so. But this would guarantee a minimum of 5 council districts that are districts. And if the council, which I expect it probably to be expanded as at-large, this would cover that too.
So that's, those districts are town and township
Yes,
based on population?
correct.
So try to even out the population between
Yep.
the 5?
With a population deviation of around 10% or less, which is what the state guidelines are.
Specify.
So it's already been decided that we're going to have 5 council members? I thought it was the governance committees.
No, it is the governance
Okay,
committee,
I
but
see.
this will cover up to 5 districts.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, so like I said, if there's at-large added, there's nothing that has to be drafted for that.
But could we go to 3 or go to 7?
It could,
That's what I'm saying,
Yeah.
is or not, I mean,
that's correct.
Okay, all right.
The only thing we base, I think it was, with both of these were sent out based on the plan from
okay,
Sheridan.
gotcha.
And this would be for the whole township. We're not just talking about the town.
That is correct.
And all the lines would be, or could be, redrawn.
So does Shelton have any intentions of making a presentation to us? In the banning report, they talk about that, about coming and making a presentation to us and possibly even talking to the subcommittee.
In my conversations with him, he has said he's willing to talk to anybody via phone or come here if we need him.
Okay.
What's the timeline for this?
Well, I don't know. Banning did it for Sheridan and Adams, so that they're aware of the statutory guidelines. And Shelton, who I've talked to, he's very much aware of our timeline too. So I would confidently say they're both going to fit within our timeline.
Well, 6,500 sounds a lot better than 19,400.
I agree.
I found helpful on the Shelton document that it pointed out that only the county commissioners have the authority to establish voter precinct boundaries, and that the creation of these maps could result in split voter districts. Thinking through what that's going to mean, especially if we find ourselves not consistently on the same page about the whole process as the county commissioners, do we anticipate that that could present a significant obstacle?
That I would not think so. I've not seen any, pretty much they know that by law, they recommend, if I'm not mistaken, the precinct boundaries and as close as possible. So it would be probably the election board that would end up doing that, and the county commissioners would sign up. They've done it before for Ellettsville when we had some out, and it was just going through the surveyor and saying, here's where the borders are, here's where the precincts are, do we need to move them over a street or whatever? I think it was last done in 2017 when I was on the election board.
Obviously, price-wise, I prefer the Shelton quote dramatically. Not having the timeline spelled out in the quote and not having a written commitment to appear here and give a presentation, those are both elements that I would want to have in writing in the contract.
I agree.
Well, did you want to delay this a week and we can have him add that onto there? Or do you want to just go with the other contract?
Or do you want to go with this contract and have him amend it?
Yeah, I
Can we
mean,
say, we say that we go with this one as long as he agrees to those terms?
okay, yeah. Yep, subject to, yep.
Does anybody have a motion?
Anybody want to comment?
That's not on the agenda.
I'll make a motion that we accept David Shelton's proposal for the $6,500 amended, that gives us the timeline that works with the state requirements, and what was the other thing?
And that he is willing to appear.
Oh, willing to appear.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Okay, roll call?
So the motion to approve the Shelton contract, subject to a timeline commitment and a willingness to come and give a presentation to the Reorganization Committee. Okay. I vote yes. Scott?
Yes.
Jerry?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
William?
Yes.
Dawn?
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you.
May I bring up an additional comment? So I think governance will probably be something everybody's interested in. We have a large crowd here tonight. One, we probably ought to mention when the next subcommittee meeting that will deal with that is. If people's interested in it, it'd be good to come. And then any extra information we could give, maybe it's not appropriate right now, but I think a lot of people will be interested in where they can go to find out more information about this. I think there are some subcommittees that people will really be interested in. Obviously, how their representative, one of them, planning and zoning, I know is one that everybody's interested in, and obviously safety. So I just think that any information we can give them either now or where they can go to get it we should have that passed on.
Do we have anyone from the governance committee here tonight? I'll reach out, and if I hear back before the end of the meeting, I'll let you know.
All right, now discussion of public outreach meetings. I don't know who,
I put that on the agenda as a suggestion. Maybe the board would consider having outreach meetings in different areas of the township. So I just thought that would be a good topic for discussion. I thought it would be a good topic for discussion to think about having outreach meetings in different areas of the township.
would this be after the plan's developed as we get closer to November, or for input now?
Whatever the board thinks would be appropriate.
In
Either
Sharon's
or,
document,
both.
They specifically said, meet with everybody you can as early and as often as possible in any context you can, in the
Right.
living room, at a fire station, wherever.
Coffee shop.
Whether it's 2 or 200 people.
Yep.
And I'd like to think we're committed to doing that.
I will definitely commit to doing that, and I've said, and I'll say again, I'll be knocking on doors, going to people, I mean, not with this weather, but when it gets a little bit warmer. I don't think people even want to open their doors for people with this weather. But my contact information, William Ellis, is on the websites, on the town website. Anytime you want me to speak to yourself or a group or meet you for a cup of coffee, I'm very much willing to do that.
I feel the exact same way. Especially hearing the feedback, hearing what you guys think. But any questions that you would have or concerns, but mostly to hear what you folks think.
Yep.
Maybe that's something that should be put on our website, is that, you know, if you have a small
Book a
group or,
meeting.
you know,
Yep.
you book a meeting.
Well, should we try to schedule some times and locations and publicize that?
Well, I mean, we mentioned on the 17th, the planning and zoning, that is a public meeting where input is going to be asked, you know, or we're going to ask the public to come and tell us what they're thinking, or what they might be worried about, or what they'd like to change.
Yes, ma'am.
My name is Kathy Weller, and I live in Richland Township. I'm just responding to the postcard, so I'm not really sure what all you're talking about. So could you just give a little summary of why I'm here?
Okay,
Want me to take that?
yeah,
All right.
great question.
Yes. We see a lot of new faces tonight, so that we probably should start off with that. First of all, I think that all of us should introduce ourselves real quick. We haven't We've had the same,
Couple meetings.
right, so, want
I'll
to,
start. My name is Andrew Henry. I'm a resident of the town of Ellettsville. My wife and our 5 kids live here. I own and operate a small business in Spencer, and I was excited to join the Reorganization Committee because I think that reorganization has a lot of great potential for giving the Ellettsville and Richland Township area more control over the future of the town. So that's why I'm volunteering my time to be here.
Good evening. I'm Scott Reynolds. I and my wife are residents of the township, a few miles outside of Ellettsville. My desire to be part of the reorganization committee was, to be part of this investigation into whether or not this makes sense for all the residents of the town and the township, and to make sure that we talk about all the things that should be talked about. So thank you for hearing us.
Jerry Sanders, I'm superintendent of Edgewood Schools. I'm also a resident of Ellettsville since 2019, so not that long. But in the time that I've lived here, I've really come to love Ellettsville and want to see a bright future for our community.
My name is Mike Kornman. I'm a lifelong resident of Ellettsville. Served on the town council previously in the 1990s, on several committees of the town, and I feel like I'm pretty politically aware of what's going on with our state legislature, as well as local political issues, and I think it's a time that this be reviewed, and that's one reason I wanted to volunteer to be on the board and represent the town, so thank you.
My name's Kevin Ferris. I've been here since 1998, and I'm a small business owner. I live in the township, a little bit past the school on Reeves Road, and everybody said what the reason that I'm on this board.
I'll go next, because I'll explain kind of.
Okay. I'm Dawn Durnall. I am on the Richland Township Advisory Board. I live in the township and have basically a lifelong resident of Ellettsville-Richland Township, and like Kevin said, everybody's pretty much said everything, but I do want to make sure that we're doing the best thing that we can for us now and for in the future.
All right, I'm William Ellis, and I currently serve on the town council. I've been a resident of Ellettsville since 2014, lived in the county since 1999. But the crux of the question, what are we doing here? At the state level, there's been talk, as far as I can remember, at least since 2006, of eliminating townships, consolidating townships, meaning, you have one smaller township, one larger one, put them together. That sometimes works, but sometimes you're going to have townships that have different points of view on things, and it doesn't work. So when we're looking at this, we're like, Ellettsville and Richland worked together for 79 years when it came to fire protection. We have a shared history and a shared vision of growth. So instead of changes at the state level causing us to have to react, we thought we'd be proactive first. And what this would do, this would actually reorganize the government of the town of Ellettsville and Richland Township into one system, so the borders of Ellettsville would pretty much be Richland Township. Everybody be Ellettsville. Technically, and please don't quote me that we're changing the name, because that's been quoted. You could technically change the name. It's almost like the reset button on local government. We're starting from scratch on one hand, but on the other hand, we have ways that works. The township does things great, like with cemetery maintenance and poor relief. The town does things great. You probably saw the streets recently with the snow. The town's done that well. Fire protection for Richland Township, the town has done that well. So certain things we don't have to reinvent. So what we want to do is bring the interest of Richland Township and Ellettsville, because a lot of what we do in Ellettsville affects you guys anyway in the township. Problem is, you don't get a vote on it. We want you to have an input on it. We want you to have a vote. And where this differs from what you've heard from annexations and stuff like that, annexations usually there's two types, super voluntary or voluntary annexations, which is what Ellettsville's been doing. People pretty much knock on the door and say, we're tired of the zoning and planning of the county. We want to come into Ellettsville. Welcome. But then there's other people that are not attached to Ellettsville that can't do that. But then there's the other type of annexations that, and it's going through the court systems right now, that they force you in whether you want to or not. This, though, is a perfect solution because the ultimate decision is you guys. We started this in October with a vote. I think it was October we voted, the town council voted to pursue it. And then in November, the township board unanimously both said, hey, let's move forward. So we formed this reorganization committee. We have, I can't remember how many subcommittees. What is it, 6, 7?
There's 7.
7 subcommittees, I believe. And those committees are, the goal is that if in November we've earned your vote and you vote to do this, you're not going to lose any services, but you're set on the path for success. Because one of the things I asked at one of the last meetings, how many people have lived here and had kids here go to the school system? Raise your hand. Okay, almost everybody. How many of those children, after they graduated, found a job here in Monroe County and stayed here? I see even half of those. We want to change that because this is a community that's home for all of us. We don't want it just home to us. We want it home to our children and grandchildren. And that means a couple things we have to do. We have to provide the growth to offer good jobs. We have to provide responsible growth so it doesn't overwhelm our infrastructure. And more importantly, we have to get the people directly involved. And this is the most direct governance you can have. So I hope that answers your question, kind of what we're doing. And I'll try to give it to why. I think we all have kind of a different focus as to why, but it all ends up in the same place. And so if there's questions, concerns, we want to hear them. What we don't want is January 1st, this to go through and us to say, whoops, we didn't think about that. We have a plan that we're working on from the town of Sheridan and Adams Township up in Hamilton County. They did this successfully in 2024. They did a phenomenal detailed plan on how they did it. So instead of, reinventing the wheel, we followed something that's worked. And people on this board went up there and talked to them extensively. I've talked to them, and they are extremely happy. What was it they said, Dawn? They wish they would have done it earlier? Something like that?
The trustee said that she wished that she would have done it 2 years earlier when the board came to her, the town council, and asked. Yeah.
So we want to give you an option, more control here. So if you have a problem, have a concern, you come to Ellettsville.
No matter what, your zip code won't change.
Your zip code
No,
won't
that's-
change.
that's a big thing for people,
And your
so.
mailing address will not change. That is a postal thing, and it's already, we have in the town of Ellettsville, a Bloomington address, Gosport addresses, and Ellettsville.
Spencer.
And Spencer.
Yeah.
So that'll still stay as confusing as it is now.
Something else that will not change, William mentioned that you won't lose any services. No services are going to be forced on you either. So there will be different tax rates for the town and the rural people. Those of us in the township that are not in town, we still are not going to get brush pickup. We're not going to get, whatever, is offered to the residents within the current town that we don't currently have. Those are not going to be forced on us. They probably are not even going to be offered.
You won't lose any
No,
services
you will not
either.
lose any services.
And another important thing about the process, this committee is working to put together a plan that we don't get to pass. We just get to give it to the Ellettsville Town Council and the Richland Township Board, and both those bodies, independently of each other, have to approve it, and only after that does it go on the ballot for a public referendum for all the voters across the entire considered area in November. So it's a multi-stage process where the subcommittees now are doing all the research and discussion to figure out the implications for parks, for cemeteries, for roads and streets, for safety, for all the different services. We, as a committee, compile all those reports and come up with a comprehensive plan that then the township and the town, which are going to balance their own interests, both have to approve, and then everybody gets to vote.
It goes to the state, and the state has to say this is a good plan also, and it'll work.
When you talk about checks and balances, there's a lot of them, but ultimately the best checks and balances, you guys. and that's where it'll end up and be decided.
I've annexed several pieces of property that were in the county to the town of Ellettsville. I could do that because of boundary, boundaries touching Ellettsville already, and addresses never changed. The only thing, the reason that I did it, and on several different occasions, I like the governing in Ellettsville better than I like the governing in the county. The county wasn't really receptive to what I wanted to do. Everything that I've done has been successful and well-received, increased people's, not just their property values. It was good for all the neighbors, everything that I've done. So, and the county was always opposed to it, but Ellettsville always welcomed it. So that's why I annexed.
And in fairness to the county, we've got commissioners and council. There's Richland Township, they have more issues and more voices than Richland Township they have to represent. And that's the way they're set up. And they're doing their job on representing those other voices too. But sometimes that conflicts with what Richland Township wants. This kind of lets us chart quasi our own direction. When we still have county government, that's not going to change. But instead of them drawing a land use plan and saying how you can subdivide or what your slope should have to be, we can do that. And based on our growth in super voluntary annexations, I'd say it's been well received by people.
There's differences in ideology too. What the county perceives as the focus of their government, they've got this thing they call urban sprawl that they don't like. I don't think they understand it. I've been told by people a whole lot more knowledgeable, like Bill Cook, that they don't understand it. And they limit, they've got a plan already in place. That plan's been in place for decades of how they want to see the growth. I can tell you tons of stuff that I don't agree with that. And hey, you want to hear my opinion? Ask me. Let's get together for coffee.
Yes.
He'll tell you.
Yeah, let's, why I want to see this happen. I think it makes sense.
I think it's important at the higher level to recognize too that while people on this committee may have perspectives on the advisability of this reorganization, that ultimately this committee is not, the job isn't to persuade, it's to present the best plan that, based on the input of the public and the subcommittees, we think could be the best outcome. And then that's to be considered by the actual decision makers at the township and the town level, and then ultimately the voters. And so a lot of these details are still to be worked out by these subcommittees, the meetings that you've heard about, ultimately by us integrating these things together with the assistance of council. But I think it's very important to ask a lot of questions and ask the hard, difficult questions. I mean, I'm a resident of the township, not the town. And I think it's also important that we understand kind of where things would change. I think it's already been sort of implicit in the comments that have been made, but in the township, a lot of these decisions that would be, subject to the authority of a reorganized township, combination, are these decisions are made at the county level, things like planning and zoning. And so that would obviously, that kind of authority would move largely to this reorganized political entity. But the changes for the township are potentially much more dramatic than the changes for the town. And so I do think it's important that everybody have the opportunity to ask the difficult questions and get the answers. And I also just want to encourage people to do that and let them know that we're happy to have that done, just whatever our individual feelings might be.
Kathy, did that answer your question?
It's starting.
Okay.
There sounds like a lot of moving parts.
There are.
Just here to listen mostly.
And that's awesome. Yes.
That was a great question, and really, my opinion about all this is, we're citizens like everybody else, everybody in this room. And I think everybody in this room wants the very best for our community, and that's what it's going to take. It's not just 5 or 6, 7 people sitting up in front of you. It's going to take everybody in this room to talk to your neighbors, to get the word out, have the conversations when you're outside. Well, you're not going to be outside with your neighbor these days, but
Unless you're yourself.
yeah, but
bring your shovel.
you know, when you're at church or with some friends, having conversations. And those conversations, if we each one take this very seriously and go out and have those conversations, then that's how we're going to reach more people, and more people are going to be knowledgeable. We don't want anybody to go to the voting booth in November and say, I have no idea what they're asking me to hear. We need to make sure everybody that in our own personal circle of influence that we're reaching out and touching and making sure that everybody understands the situation. And we are just getting started. I personally am still learning a lot about what we're doing and why we need to do it. And so this is probably the hardest part of all this in terms of formulating our plan and getting our input and knowing what our community wants and developing that plan and having those conversations. This is probably the hardest part. But if we do our work now, then when it comes November, it'll be an easy vote for us, I think. All right. The next item that I had on the agenda looks like it says discussion of dates for subcommittees to make preliminary reports to the board. We already have that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll get to it.
All right.
I feel like I'm monopolizing this session, I'm sorry, but you said that the township people, of which I'm a member, will be affected more than the town. Can you just give some examples? And also how, you mentioned the county would still have some oversight. So can you just give some examples of the county versus the township versus the town? What things would be different?
Well, for one thing, the township is a lot bigger than the town, not just area-wise, but also population-wise. There's about 7.
The populations are almost the same. New discovery. We found out the world's round too. It's 8,500 for the township and approximately 7,000 for the town.
So it's come down from 17 to 12,000 to...
Do not talk about that.
But we're using the most up-to-date
But
census.
those are the good numbers.
Okay. So never mind.
Yes, sir.
My name's Dennis Pence, and I've lived in the city most of my adult life. I guess my question before you is to combine the township and the city. Is this a power struggle to keep the county from coming in and taking over fire departments and police departments? And I know you say the services will stay the same, but it seems like this is a little bit of a power struggle to make us stronger to prevent the county from fighting us on, it's like they want to take us over as well. Is that something you're saying, or is this just my?
You mind if I take that?
Everyone's looking at William.
I think you've hit the nail on the head. The county, and there's members of the county that work great with us, but when it comes to policy, this is where we have friction. Since 2017, 2018, every resident in the town of Ellettsville has been paying a food and beverage tax of 1% on their food.
Yes.
We don't see a dime of that. And
I
the
know
county went up and fought against us getting the law changed last year at the State House. So that was a clear indication they don't want us to have what they think is their money. They did let us say that if we wanted to pass our own additional food and beverage tax, we could. That was so gracious of them. Then, this year, the commissioners have made an intent, the same night that we had our first reorganization meeting, they decided to have a meeting, same date and time, for a fire district meeting. And what that would do, I mean, they didn't make a decision on this, but they talked, it was advertised that they were going to bring town of Ellettsville and Richland Township into the fire district. First of all,
Just Richland Township.
no, it said Ellettsville on the
The
advertising.
notice actually said it.
Yes.
Even though they can't do that.
Right, they legally can't do Ellettsville. But that tells you the mindset. They think that they can. But then, when we bring this up, that we're wanting to chart our own course. We have a 79-year history between Richland Township and Ellettsville providing fire protection. They are finding a solution to a problem that does not exist.
Yes.
And here's what that would mean to taxpayers if this does not happen and the fire district goes in. In Bean Blossom right now, the remonstrance, from what I understand, was 80% against it. They said, tough, we're doing it anyway. And so we know that's not going to work if the fire district comes in. But if I'm not mistaken, and I could be a little off on these numbers, the tax rate for Bean Blossom, I think, was going to be 29 cents per $100 increased for people for their fire protection. Granted, they are getting better than what they have now. They're getting the place staffed 24/7. They're getting the equipment modernized. But for a $250,000 home, that's about $700 more a year in property taxes. So let's take that if the fire district came into Richland Township. Well, they contracted Ellettsville Fire. There's no equipment. There's no staff. They'd have to build all that from scratch. I think you'd be lucky to pay 29 cents per $100. Now, realistically, the elephant in the room, reorganization is going to cause a slight increase in taxes. We don't know exactly how much, but I tell you, it's not going to be 29 cents. It's not going to be that much. Based on kind of what we're looking at, back of the napkin things, based on the Sheridan plan, if we kind of overlaid them, probably looking, what was it, 5 to 8 cents per 100, Mike? And that depends on, you know, if the subcommittees and the public say, you know what, we want more services than we have, and we're willing to pay for it. But the goal is not money, because we're trying to make this as close to revenue neutral for the taxpayer, the people in the township, as possible. And because we want to really open the industry of new growth, where when new stuff comes in, they can be at the higher rate. And one of the biggest things I hear from town residents all the time, we do not want to have to pay for new growth. Well, the way you do that is have smart growth, growth that is commercial, light industrial. We're not necessarily attracting any, but we're not going to stop that if you have 100 acres and want to sell it. It's not our job to tell you what you can do with your land to an extent, as long as it doesn't affect your neighbors. So to answer your question, there's a lot of pieces to that, but yes, this is a good way for us to say we have our own identity. It's a like identity. We go back generations of the two. Ellettsville is Richland Township. You know, we're fully in the township. Actually, I think we have a little bit in Bean Blossom now. But for most of its history, it has been in Richland Township. And we want to continue that.
I'm in favor of fighting the county in every way that we can.
All right.
And adding extra taxes, tongue in cheek, it goes right along with our school corporations, which doubles my taxes every year anyway. So,
We won't be done.
so thank you very much.
Okay, these are great questions, and for me, actually, this is maybe the best meeting we've had because of your questions. Are there any other questions or comments? Whoever gets there first. Ladies first, though.
I'm Linda Buckland. I've lived for 38 years out on Ridge Road. I have a Spencer mailing address. My utilities all come from Spencer. The only services I get are fire protection, and thank you for that, and the county maintains and plows the roads. Those are the only services I've got. There's nothing that the township is providing me otherwise. But now that you're talking about development, I want to hear some definitions, because I'm up there on the hill and I hear everything that goes on down on that Keehee property. Their backup alarms, their ventilators, the trucks moving around, because it all carries up the hill. So if you're talking about development, what are you doing to the quality of life for those of us that moved out there for the peace and quiet, and the fact that we don't have a lot of noise and traffic and all the things that come with development? I mean, honestly, I'm on the alternate route between Bloomington and Spencer. And when 46 is shut down and they have to reroute the traffic, it's all right by my front door. And 2 years ago, I had a guy lose control on that road, and he went in between my retaining wall and the front of my house. 2 degrees different, he would have been in my house. Now, I haven't been able to get the county to rebank the road, and I don't think anybody's going to take on that expense. So I'm still not going to get the services that I need to fix it, because the chevron signs there on the road telling people about the curve just get taken down every couple of years because somebody plows through them. So I really want you to stop and think about defining your terms so we know exactly what you're talking about, because when you say development, it means something entirely different to me than it may be to you, because you're hearing dollar signs and I'm seeing loss of quality of life.
And no, I completely agree with you. And I think that's one of the reasons that it's important to be part of the town, because we made a decision with Keehee that's affecting people in the township that you didn't get a vote on. You didn't get anybody to talk to about it. And you're kind of caught in that gray zone that we made the decision and you have the consequences. We want to avoid that as much as possible. We don't want people to say, well, you know, I want this. We don't want you to look out your window and see nothing but homes and shopping centers or anything like that. When we talk about development, that will be driven by what wants to come here and by the public.
Well, the problem here, though, is to date, your communication with those of us out in the township has been abysmal. I saw a brief notice by somebody complaining on Facebook several weeks ago, and then I got the card today. There has been no direct communication with any of us who are voters out in the township on the pros and cons of this, on the implications, on the unintended consequences. And that's all the stuff I want to hear before I'm going to go ahead with this, because it just looks to me like it's going to make it a whole lot worse out by us. And it's still going to be a tax increase, and it doesn't matter if it's a few pennies on the $100, because it's a tax increase for something we're not getting any benefits from. So, you know, right now, I'm not hearing anything that's making me want to vote for this.
We're not asking for your vote tonight or make a decision.
But that's what I'm saying, is I am not getting the communications that's going to change my mind. So you guys really need to up your game on notifying us of what you're doing, why you're doing, when you're doing it. Because you've been at this since October, and this is the first public meeting I've learned about?
No. We started discussing it and had the first formal vote for the town council in October.
You started working on this in October, and the first official notification I got that any of this is going on is that card that came this week. That's 4 months. 4 months, and some of this stuff that you're doing already sounds like you're working on it. Okay, this is what we're going to go through with, and it wasn't prefaced by saying this is a plan and a proposal. It was like we're taking contracts for electoral districts. Excuse me, what?
That, yes, the governance committee has to draw a plan. That this here is not for, the electoral districts is, the governance committee is going to have to say, how are we going to reorganize the township in voting? So they have to have a professional do that. That's what.
There was no buildup, there was no explanation, there was no preparatory work. That, you guys all know what's going on. We do not know. When you hit me with, you're debating between a $17,000 contract and a $9,600 or whatever the numbers were, and then the URL or whatever it was for the website went by so fast, I couldn't even write it down. There's no display telling me where the information is. You're not getting the word out to those of us that need to know.
This committee was formed at the end of December. So we have not been working on this since October. We have had a few meetings up to this point, and we had to get approval for funds to send that postcard out. So we are trying to spin that up. The website has only been up for 2 weeks because we had to get funding and then find a developer who could build it in under a month for us. So we're trying to get a bunch of things that don't have momentum going. I appreciate your frustration.
And unfortunately, with the lack of local newspapers, it's just a shame that we don't have the Journal anymore. But unfortunately, the biggest way that we've had to promote this so far is just on Facebook and social media, which I realize is pitiful. But without a newspaper, there's really nothing else that we could do until we got the funds approved.
There are local radio stations that'll do PSAs.
And well, I don't know that this.
They do PSAs, because I've worked for nonprofits, and they'll carry government PSAs too.
Yeah, I first heard about this process through the Herald Times at the end of last year, and I've been somewhat disappointed by the fact that they haven't continued to cover this. The B Square Bulletin is another local news source that made an initial comment about it but has not continued to cover it. So I would encourage everybody to reach out to those organizations and any others that you feel like should be providing coverage of this and encourage them to pay attention and make sure that this information is getting reported. Because I don't think it's, I just wanted to say to the person who was just here speaking, who sat down, that I live on Ratliff Road, and so I have many of the same concerns when it comes to development. And so I think the only way that we get the answers on the table is to make sure that we do have as much attention on this as possible. So please do encourage media and others to attend and report.
We definitely appreciate the feedback.
I'd add, we've ordered yard signs and we're working on a billboard and some other communication devices too. But up until the Reorganization Committee formed and we had a lead on what we should do, we hadn't gone there yet. So the communications, up your game, I wrote it down. I agree with that, and that's what we're doing.
Yes, sir.
Hi. Yeah, I'm Phil Shanoff. Wife and I, we've lived here for about 45 years now. So, three kids growing up and went to high school, through high school here. This lady that was here before me asked a lot of hard questions. You know, I think it's kind of an ambitious plan. I'm a skeptic, but I try to be open with these kind of things. And the thing that I think about is that we were talking about services, you know, and I heard what Dawn said about I think it was Dawn, that what's in place is in place, and as far as township-wise versus what's in place town-wise, that'll remain the same. I guess the thing that I worry a little bit about is redundancies occurring. And what I mean by that is, you know, Monroe County, they do a good job with our roads. I'm in the township. I can't fuss. There's times that, but on balance, they do a very good job. And I guess what I'm trying to say is I kind of hate to see something like that, a service that you already have. You don't want to lose that by virtue of this thing. You know, there's got to be some kind of a cooperation where you can use, the county provides a fair amount of services. I mean, you don't think about it, but you know, there's soil and water, there's surveying. I mean, I'm talking about in-house, different things like that. You know, and mapping programs. But they do things. So I would just, advise or suggest that you think about and try to, kind of a little bit of a tiff going on, but try to see if that can't get corrected. Because, it is the township. There's a PLSS township and there's a civil township. And I got the Senate Bill 270 and I took a look at it here, and I'm not sure if this is really what you're referring to, because they talk about attaching one township to another township, and one's dominant and one's not. But if Sheridan's already done it, and it's been through state law, it's been approved through state law? Okay.
Yeah, this is different than that.
Yeah, I'll let it go at that. I just didn't want to.
Sheridan is actually the third, Sheridan Adams are the third or fourth that have done
Is it?
it since
Yeah.
like 2011, I think.
I think Zionsville and Whitestown, whatever townships, they've done it.
Somebody said Bargersville. Does that sound right?
I think so.
That's anecdotal. I don't know either.
Right, yeah. And when I talked to people from Whitestown at one of the conventions, it was all before their time. So I didn't have any information, but they said they don't notice any problems, but they may not have a good idea of what was before. But no, you bring up great.
Well,
Great
I
points.
just things that came to mind, and I'll probably have more later, but I just wanted to say those things.
And we definitely,
Yeah.
I can tell you
Keep your antennas out.
I wish our county council was, I wish our commissioners were as cooperative and worked with us like the county council. It's a difference. And keep in mind, if this doesn't go through, you're going to have a change to fire protection. You're going to have a major change and a major cost. They've already telegraphed that.
That's something I was not aware of at all. I mean, I knew that Ellettsville provides fire protection beyond the meets and bounds of
Right.
Ellettsville. I know that. Now, how that's compensated for, I have no idea. I just,
So the state gives funds specifically to townships, that is for fire. That is the only thing it can be used for. So townships are basically a funnel for fire services, whether it's volunteer or a career department. So everything that Richland Township gets for fire goes straight to the Ellettsville Fire Department, which is why Richland, that William mentioned earlier, Richland has no town fire department of its own.
Right.
And in the Monroe
right.
County Fire.
Van Buren does south of us.
Right.
but- and
So
then-
we have, so we
but right,
are.
in Bloomington, yeah.
So for 79 years now, the Ellettsville Fire Department.
taken care of it,
Has
yeah.
taken care of Richland. It's almost an equal, Ellettsville puts in a little bit more money than the township does from the state, but it's pretty equal on what they get.
Okay. Well, listen, folks, thanks for.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis.
Doug Turnipseed, lived here for many, many, many years. And I've got some concerns, and I'll just voice those because I know this is extremely early in the planning stages, so I acknowledge that. But I've had some concerns with development and growth, which was brought up earlier. You're expanding into a bigger organization, and before I will vote yes on this, when that time comes, if it comes, I want to know for sure what the financial part of this is going to be. If you're going to expand the police department and other services, or provide expanded services which are already low on funds, I don't believe, and I'm sorry, that a 5 or 8 cents increase in tax is going to cover that. The other things that I've had happen, and I've been in here a couple, 3 times in the past, is the voluntary annexations. They're voluntary because the rules aren't as strict as the county. And that has good effects and it has bad effects. The bad effects that I have personally witnessed is the city council has given in to developers and those people that are building the infrastructure along 46. And that's been very disheartening because I feel like the focus has been on development and creating tax dollars and funds and leaving us unrepresented. And so that's a hard pill for me to swallow. I've watched the agreements that we've been in here and we've agreed upon just totally undone. And so that's been a little disheartening. So when you tell me that you want to develop, you want to grow, and you want to provide the financial base, I mean, I really want to see a good plan, because what I don't want to see is more development happen and 46 get more difficult to navigate without there being an alternative way to get in and out of neighborhoods and on 46 in a manner that is safe. So these are the things that I definitely want to see, but I want some assurances that once we agree to this, that we're just not going to let some stuff go because a developer or somebody with financial interest gets what they want because they don't want to do what we agreed upon originally. So those are my concerns.
I will, as a member of the town council, if you don't want to publicly, but please let me know if there's something we have committed to that's changed. I need to know about that, because I'm not aware of anything like that, but those are things we need to hear. And are you in the township right now or town?
I'm in the township, but I'm surrounded by town.
Right, so
So,
this would help you in a sense have more direct representation too, because you're going to be electing a representative from your district instead of, all at large, or not. Or you don't even get a vote on stuff we do that's next to you that could impact you. This would help with that. But yes, all those things you mentioned, before that plan is voted on by the council or the township, we've got to know that too, because what we don't want to do is having, January 1 say, oh, we didn't think about this, or we have to go back to the drawing board. We get one shot at it.
yeah. And to back her, this lady before me is concerned, are you guys going to define what you mean by growth and development? I mean, I would really like to know that, because it affects me, because I have to
Right.
turn out on 46 every single day.
You ought to get involved with the planning and developing
Subcommittee.
subcommittee. Yeah, come to that meeting. When's that next meeting? The 17th?
Yeah, I understand that, but my question is that going to be well-defined before the vote? That's my comment.
Well,
and
I will
question.
say our UDO currently for the town well defines those things. I can speak for myself. When I say growth, the biggest thing I hear from residents in the town right now, because that's who I represent, is their taxes are too high. They're tired of the taxes going up. And right now we have kind of an imbalance of more residential, which takes more resources and puts more taxes, more stress on infrastructure, than we do things like light industrial and commercial. I wouldn't want a bunch of strip malls, but like if Crane is always, that is a driver of industry in our region, and there are companies that support them in the defense industry that would like to do manufacturing similar to what's happening, on the west side of, and for me, that's what I envision. Our UDO, and when they'll be figuring out for the township, what we don't want to do, if you want to keep your area agriculture, we're not going to force you to change. And so, but on the other hand, if you have somebody, I think I mentioned earlier, with 100 acres, they no longer want to farm. Is it fair to tell them they can't sell it to someone that doesn't want to develop that into an industry that's going to bring jobs to the area, that's going to bring tax relief with the tax revenue? Because, we could get $2 billion in new revenue. None of us are going to make a dime more, so it doesn't help us, but it does help everybody with their taxes. It does help the schools especially, because they're able to get more revenue without but we also have to, the quality of life, because we don't want everybody to be so crammed together that you're spending 45 minutes getting from here. What you see right now with that construction at Sale Street, we don't want that to be a typical drive all the time. So those things have to be in mind. Harmon Farms, I believe, aren't they working, as they build out, aren't they also working on an alternative like weight connection to the school and back way with there? So those are things we keep in mind. And I agree with you, we really need to take the emphasis off 46. And for me, if I had a magic wand, unless there's a stoplight, I would not have any right or left turns off of 46, because highways should not. They're stroads, and they should.
No, I agree. I don't want to see any more stoplights, but at the same time, I want to make sure.
Yeah, not a ton of them, but I'm saying
Yeah.
that spotlight with frontage roads, those are things that I envision, and some of that's been worked into the UDO, and
Yeah.
that's what he's talking about.
I think ultimately, we can talk about the things that we might like to see or not like to see, but for better or for worse, it often comes down to what does the law actually say. And so I think that these are really good questions. You know, what's the relationship between the town's Unified Development Ordinance and the Envision Ellettsville plan and the like, and how will that expand or be applied to the township? I don't think that we can't really say right now because, but I will also be at the Planning and Zoning Subcommittee because I'm, as a citizen, apart from being on this committee, very keenly interested in those discussions. So I would definitely, if you're able to, I would try to attend and make sure that those questions are raised.
Okay, thanks. I just wanted to make that comment because I won't vote yes unless I know and I'm comfortable with it.
I would not
So,
expect you to. And Scott, one thing I kind of like to brag on you a little bit. I hope it shows that we're not just trying to get people to rubber stamp. You've been concerned about growth in Ellettsville. So we want that voice. So we have somebody on our subcommittee. And I'm glad.
Quick recommendation from me, there's actually an interesting book called Strong Towns by Charles Marone that I read last year, and I recommend it. It gave me a bunch more information and thoughtfulness about how towns can preserve their character and also responsibly support their financial obligations over time. And there's a lot in there about neighborhoods and growth and infrastructure. I own a small business. I run a small light manufacturing company. I've been really glad to be able to create jobs in this area. We went from 4 employees to close to 30 over the past 5 years, which I think is cool. But I also don't want to see completely unrestricted, no rules, Wild West, pave that, build that, do whatever.
Right.
Because that will destroy or degrade the quality of life in our area. To both of the speakers who have asked us to give a precise definition of what we mean by growth, that's hard to do in advance. It's largely going to be building a flexible and responsive but still constrained approach that can look at the available opportunities for growth that wants to happen here. Companies that want to start here, local small businesses that want to begin here and grow here. And so we could probably pick some things we don't want to see, but we're also trying to give ourselves a direction that we want without putting the whole area in a straitjacket. And there's tension there. It is going to be, parts of it are going to be ambiguous, and we don't know for sure what opportunities will be available 5 years from now. I would rather have the residents of this area have more direct elected representation overseeing that 5 years from now than have our hands partially tied by other things that we don't have a direct say in. So I trust the residents of Richland and Ellettsville to make better decisions about growth for Richland and Ellettsville than a more general purpose, one-size-fits-all approach for all of Monroe County. Does that make sense?
And Andrew, by the way, some heads probably exploded from the town council that's listening, because I've been beating this drum about stronger towns for 3 years now, and I thought I was the only one that read the book.
No, you recommended it to me, and I read it.
I did?
Yeah.
Okay. See, I've recommended it to so many people, I think you're the only one that's read it.
I actually I listened to it on Audible while I was driving up and down 46 to and from work.
Was I right? Isn't that an amazing way?
Very helpful.
Yes.
Recommend it. Strong Towns by Charles Marone Jr.
Okay, we're going to come back to one more time before we end tonight to see if anybody else has a public comment. But does anybody on the board up here have a matter they would like to bring for discussion?
Well, do we want to hear from any subcommittee people that are here?
I thought we already did that, but the previous meetings,
And Linda, you had asked earlier about the website. I said it very quickly earlier, and I apologize. It is Ellettsville-Richland-info.org.
Okay.
Nope, all one word, Ellettsville-Richland-info.org. And that's where we're posting documents, we're posting video links to these previous meetings, we're posting announcements about upcoming meetings, and anything that we can think of that will be useful. We're trying to put it all up there so that you don't have to have a social media account, you don't have to notice a billboard, and you don't have to wait. Everything's going to be going up there on an ongoing basis.
Say that again.
Ellettsville-Richland-info, all one word, .org. Thank you.
That's on the postcard.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
So my name is Liz Feidel, and I just happen to be on county council, so I'm happy to hear that you're not angry at everybody.
No.
So I hear a lot of conversation for some time now about the Sheridan plan, but I don't see anything anywhere that tells me or shows me what the Sheridan plan is. Is there a way to provide that information on your website, or how would people find out what you have learned about them or what they are willing to share with you that could be shared?
I will double check. I thought that was on the website he gave, but isn't it on the town website too, Mike?
It's on the town's website.
Okay.
I looked on the Richland info one you just
Okay,
reiterated, and I didn't see it there.
Okay, I will make sure within the next day or two it's
Okay.
on there, because that is crucial to give kind of everybody kind of a broad idea, especially
Yeah.
for you being the fiscal body of the county, to kind of
Yes.
know where that fits in with everything. So,
Yes.
no, I think we discussed at the last meeting that needed to go on there, and
Yes, it's not yet in our links and resources section.
okay.
Yeah,
We'll
so
get
if
it there.
that could be on there, I think that would be helpful, because it must surely give the rest of us some idea what you're thinking about, right? Based
Yeah.
on what they've already done. And does the Sheraton plan or the Sheraton community, whoever they are,
Mm-hmm.
do they have anything, or did you find out any resources about feedback from people that live there, what they're thinking about it, or does this plan talk about that?
When they voted on it, it was overwhelming.
It was an overwhelming yes, that the people of the town and the township voted yes for it.
Over 70%.
Yeah.
And
Over
so is
80%.
there any current feedback about what they're experiencing now that you could share, or they could share about what they're experiencing now as well? Because their plan is in action, right?
Right.
So if we had some current feedback on what it is people are experiencing now, I think that would be useful, right? Because they're living it now, right?
We only met, the few of us that went up there met with just the former trustee who's now an employee of the town, and the town council president and their PR guy. And so we haven't actually, at least I haven't anyway, talked to any actual just citizens to see, what their thoughts on that were.
Do you know if the town, Sheridan, I'm sorry, I'm focusing on this, but I like information, right? So if they have taken maybe a survey of what the people think about it now that's in place, I think that would be useful if there's something like that.
I'll reach out.
Okay.
I do know they were lucky they have put some flexibility in the plan, because what's kind of interesting is they had, one of the reasons that they did this was to get more direct control too from the city of Carmel and the county wanting to overexpand and put, high density housing in the area. So it's kind of a little bit opposite in that aspect. But the people there wanted more control because you had an outside entity making these decisions for them, and they didn't. So that was one reason the township overwhelmingly voted for them. But when I say about the flexibility, originally they had contracted or had memorandums of understanding with the county to continue doing the roads and things like that. But I guess that as soon as it passed, then that all changed. But luckily they were able to pivot. And the original plan with the suggestion was to eventually build out their Department of Public Works to cover the whole township, in stages, and the county would take less and less. But it ended up changing where they subcontracted for a lot of it, saved a lot of money on the taxpayers. So it offers some flexibility there, but I haven't, that's a good, I do know I've been on there. We have Ellettsville High Neighbor here for Ellettsville, They have a similar one for Sheridan.
Okay.
And I've been on their Facebook group. I haven't asked anything because I'm not a member there. I've just kind of lurked. And I saw a lot of the same concerns there around this time in the process as we're hearing here. But I noticed after the vote, I haven't heard anything on it. So, and there's nothing recent. Doesn't mean there's no concerns. It just means it's not there. But I will reach out to the town council president and see if they've done some surveys or even public comment. Because if you're getting more people involved, which this obviously is, if something's wrong with it, chances are within the first couple months, you're going to hear about it pretty quick, even if they voted yes. So I will reach out. I'll commit to that.
So speaking of different, what's wrong or whatever, I thought I heard tonight, the Richland Township population was very similar, I thought, to the Ellettsville town population. But from numbers I've seen before in different reports, public reports, don't indicate that to me. So I'm wondering what the real numbers are for population.
Mike, do you want to
for
speak to that?
Richland and Ellettsville.
Yeah, so the real numbers are, it's 8,000 to 8,500 people in the township, and our last census was, in 2020, was 6,635 people, so we're pretty sure we're over 6,700 just based on new starts, building and that. So those are the good numbers. I've got egg on my face because I was told the numbers were different for quite a while, and I'd been using them. And so if you want to come see me, I'll give you all the facts, but the first fact I give you was incorrect. But those are the numbers.
Okay.
And
that's verifiable how?
Well, it's on the census.
Okay.
And as everybody around here in Monroe County says now, just Google it.
I think
it was an easy.
There was an email census inquiry about the numbers of Richland and Ellettsville, and Ellettsville's numbers are included in the Richland overall.
I think that's where the confusion
That's
was.
where
We
exactly
ended up
where it
double
was.
counting.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Turns out the old numbers just turned out to be legend, not truth.
And so is there information, back to the Sheridan thing, is there information before and after their reorganization, or what do they call it, about the tax rates? Did they go up or down, or where's all that? They have
Sheridan
that?
went up 4 cents per 100.
Okay, so there, and that can be shared also
Yes.
on your?
I believe that's in the reorganization plan. If
Okay.
not, it was.
It is.
Okay, it is, okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
I couldn't remember if I read that.
In
or
my
heard that.
opinion, you can't have too much information.
Right, well, exactly. Well, because you never know what you don't know until.
Right, yes, okay.
And
Well,
the
thank you.
Sheridan, the Sheridan plan is a good, almost a half-inch thick
But it's
printed.
okay.
So,
If you put
so
it there,
that's a
people
lot of
can
information.
look at it or
So you've got
not,
your
right?
information, yes.
Yes.
It's great because,
Yeah.
you can find anything you want.
Yeah.
We
in
can't
there.
even email it, so.
Yeah.
It's so
Okay.
large.
Thank you.
No, but thanks.
So this is probably a good time to say, so for anybody that doesn't know, I'm the town manager and your utilities director. And Michael Farmer. I should have said somebody else's. So sometimes people want information immediately. These meetings are fine and they go from one week to the next. And so we've made an offer when this all started to reach out by coming to anybody that has questions or sitting in a room like this and spending as much time as I need to with anybody to tell them how we operate now. We have a pretty good we have a pretty good idea of what will happen if we don't reorganize, so that's worth sharing. And so whether it's the county council or individuals, the Reorganization Committee, I will spend as much time as I can explaining the best I can of what we think's going to go on. I can talk about how we look at economic development now as a town as opposed to a reorganized town. And I won't have all the answers, and I might even have a couple wrong answers, but I would spend an inordinate amount of time with anybody. This I carry with me all the time. It's a map of the township. If you lay that out between two different people, and I'm there, pretty soon you're talking about a lot of things, and you go pretty much in depth on what could happen here, what may happen here, and the plans that the town has now. Whether they meld with what the reorganization plan is in the future, I can't say that. I won't speak for that, but I would spend an inordinate amount of time talking to anybody because it's very important, very, very important. And so you can reach me by calling the utilities office or the clerk's office. I'd give you my cell phone number, but I'm not going to.
Also, on the website, the email direct contact information for each member of this committee is listed, and you are welcome to contact any of us at any time with any questions you have. We had discussed earlier the idea of public outreach meetings, and that kind of tapered off when we moved on. I would be very interested to hear from those of you who took the time to come out this evening, what kinds of public outreach meetings, if any, where and when would you see value in those? I see a couple heads nodding. I mean, obviously, we meet on Wednesday evenings. Wednesday evenings aren't conducive for attendance for everyone's schedule. Some people have other things going on, and I want to make sure that anybody who wants to know more about it has the opportunity to ask questions in real time. That's very valuable. I'm happy to make time to meet with people, to come to an organization or come just, I will have fewer answers than Mike, but I will write down all of your questions because I want to know. Anybody have suggestions for where we could have outreach meetings?
If you want to just form neighborhood, meet at somebody's house. That's how Sheridan did a ton of that. Of course, Lions Club and all the different community organizations, churches. Something to think about.
Yeah, don't have to do it this week, but we are interested in doing that. I'm interested in doing that. So if you'd like me to come sit down and talk with you, I'd be happy to. My email is on the website.
And you also should mention podcasts.
So we have a YouTube channel that's being run by Dawn Durnall from Richland Township. We're going to be recording some videos answering frequently asked questions and discussing them in a shorter, more concise format than having to find it in an hour-and-a-half long CATS video from a public meeting like this. And we would happily discuss and record answers to any particular questions you have. Questions about what do we mean by growth? That's a great topic for us to discuss and point out what we do and don't want to see. Ultimately, we can't predict the future. We don't get to call the plays 3 quarters in advance, but we do want to give you guys more information about what we're thinking, what we see in the Sheridan plan, the questions we've already been asked, our best take at the answers to those questions at this time, so we can refine those and get you more information. Hey, William, you had a motion last meeting about moving to weekly meetings. Are we going to discuss that?
I'm more than willing to.
Diane, do you have anything?
I do have a report. You want me to get it now?
Love it.
I was told to stand further away from the microphone. I'm reporting on behalf of the Planning and Zoning Subcommittee. We've met 2 times, and our first meeting was spent learning a lot about what is currently in place. And I have to compliment Mike and Denise for answering many questions that we had about it. We all have copies of all the different zones, and your concerns are many of our concerns, too. I will share that with you. And the second meeting, and I would encourage you, just as a sidebar, before our public meeting, if you can have a copy of our objectives, the people that are going to attend that meeting, that will help you help us, I think, because these are the things that we're charged with doing. But our second meeting was last night, and we got more detail. And I have to compliment our community for
The plans that are already in place, the Envision Ellettsville plan was awesome, and the current UDO is very specific, and although it's thick, it's thorough. And most communities of our size don't have anything comparable to that, and they certainly don't have anything so recent. That's the other thing that's so helpful here. This is not a 20-year-old plan, and it is specific as to what is expected currently. Now, our charge is to determine how much of that comes into play, because we're now incorporating, and that's not the right term, we're adding. We're adding a lot of more rural property than perhaps what this UDO was expecting. And that's where many of our questions were. And again, Denise has been very thorough in answering those questions and helping us, but we will need the input of the community as to the feelings and thought processes. So, but we are listening, and that's why we decided as a group, we need to hear more. I hate this microphone. Okay. We need to hear more from community residents as to what are your feelings about it. But again, I think with Mike and Denise's help, they can explain thoroughly and completely what can be expected. You can't micromanage it, but you can be thoughtful with it. And I think what our entire community wants, the business community, the residents, they want it to be predictable, very predictable, and they want decisions made in a timely manner, in weeks or short months, not years. And I think that's what this group can accomplish as a part of the whole process. And that's it. So the date of February 17th, it would be good to have a packed house here, I think, for that evening. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Diane's serving on the planning and zoning subcommittee. She didn't say. Oh, she did. She did? Okay. Okay. I didn't know if she did. You probably did. I mean, you did. That's it. It cut out just when you said that. Let me ask you, when we talk about growth, who wants more pizza places? No? Okay.
Oh, wait a minute, I want to add to that, because it's a little bit of a joke, but to take a few seconds here. I was involved as in my previous level as a fire chief 3 years ago to the market studies for Ellettsville area. And we were told we could have up to 8 pizza places in the Ellettsville area because we seem to like pizza. As anybody watches the roadways on a Friday night, you see them all up down the road, right? So you see every place packed, right? So that's the nature of our beast. And we had one close, and there's 2 more looking to come here, so.
What's your plan for growth? Pizza?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, anything else before the board?
Any
other committee meetings?
Yeah, I was just going to ask the same. Are there any other, I mean, we passed a motion last time, says request, but you could also say direct each subcommittee to make a report at our subsequent meeting starting tonight. So it sounds like maybe not every subcommittee has a representative here tonight.
Are there any other subcommittees that would like? Public safety, maybe? I see. And finance? I see, okay. Yeah, Zach's right now coming up for public safety, and then after him.
And maybe we can add a line on the agenda going forward, just to have a designated spot for these reports.
Zach Michael from the Public Safety Committee. We met last Tuesday and got a lot of great information from the fire department, the police department, the building department, and each individual member of the committee is now working on drafting, the plan or parts of the plan. Just a reminder, Mike announced it earlier, but we will be having a meeting next Tuesday, February 10th, here from 6 to 7:30 to solicit input from the public on what they want to see from public safety. So that's our report.
Thank you.
I'm Elaine Thompson, and I'm on the Finance Committee. And we've had 2 meetings, multitude of information, budgets, and tax levies, and so on. And we meet tomorrow. We're going to put it all together, and I believe we will have a good rough draft for you on time.
Thank you.
Any other reports from subcommittees?
Mike, do you have anything on the water, sewer, and wastewater?
I don't. I think somebody that's on the committee's here. Terry, you here? Yeah, Terry's here. He represents BBP Water. And of course, I represent the utilities in Ellettsville, but we have not had a meeting yet. As I've said before, fortunately, we talk amongst ourselves anyway, and their boards have long-range planning in place. Currently, Ellettsville is going through a long-range planning for sewer to the west. And, you know, our water system, we have long-range planning, and we're probably 75% through it based on what we thought in 1998. And so we're kind of set. At some point, we should meet to reconfirm how we'll work together. Terry and I have had some discussions about how BBP Water and Ellettsville Water, we border each other. And as the town moves to the west, there'll be a time when the town will be interested in some kind of economic development project or a housing project that will involve how we go about our business, and yet we'll have to work with BBP Water for fire protection, making sure they have good water supply for fire protection, and a lot of times economic development's dependent on utilities and infrastructure already being in place. So that process was ongoing before this started. So I don't know who's in charge of the utility subcommittee, but we actually have been working on this years before now. And so I think we're in pretty good shape. I don't know what the expectations are for the utilities, but like I said, you know, we have contracts right now working on our infrastructure plans for 5, 10, and 20 years moving west. And we have in place an infrastructure study for the whole town as it is now. So, if that answers your question.
We had brought up earlier about, you had mentioned about my motion last week about meeting weekly. Are you thinking we need to revisit that?
How does the rest of the committee feel about it? I'm really grateful to see all you here. I'm really encouraged to have a larger turnout at the meeting. I know that there were some folks, partly because of the snow, some deliveries got delayed, some mailboxes weren't as accessible. Not everybody got their postcard as soon as we hoped. So
I got my postcard today.
Some people only had a few days or a single day of notice from the postcard about this meeting.
Of course, the postcard says that the next meeting will be 2 weeks from
Yeah.
today, so I'm not. Yeah, I'm just throwing that out there. I'm not certain that-
The postcard wouldn't give them warning if we added a
Right.
meeting next week.
Right.
That's
Right.
true.
Unless we had a better way of getting that word out.
Well, along that line, I was wondering if we should, Mike, talk to Fields and Company and have them take the suggestion of the lady that spoke earlier and get some PSAs out, if we can, on the radio stations.
Okay.
All the local ones that.
Yeah, I mean, they asked me the other day if they wanted to reach out to HT and maybe ask them to come see us and do an article now. And so, yeah, we can do that.
I think she's right. We need to get as much out there as we possibly can. I was not aware that we could do the PSA
I will caution,
announcements.
I know in one of the nonprofit groups I work for that was lobbying for ballot question, they would not do that since it was a yes or no ballot question. But it's not gonna hurt to ask.
Right.
So
But
we
this
will.
is just for the meeting for awareness, we're not doing the actual for the ballot.
I agree.
Okay.
It's how they interpret it.
Sure, I got you.
We can try.
Yes, we definitely will try. because I think every meeting we've discussed outreach and better ways we can do it. And even between meetings, I've had conversations with everyone. What more can we do? And especially Mikey's.
I'll get the yard signs out. I think the ground's gonna thaw next week.
All right.
So then back to our question that I didn't really mean to take away from, but about meeting weekly.
Okay, I'd point out, if you do go to every week, we may have a couple conflicts with the fire territory meetings. So if you had a meeting at 6, it'd have to have a hard stop at 7. And so,
The next I think the meetings would be at 7, so it'd be like a 6:50 hard stop.
Yeah, okay, well.
Yeah.
So and you have a plan, I think you have some subcommittee meetings on Wednesday too. I'm trying to look them up. So if you're going to go to every week, based on what Scott says, maybe it's good to plan to have them starting in March. And that'll get you away. And even in March, we have 2 dates for the fire territory meetings. One's on the
11th and the
11th
25th.
and 25th, right?
Yeah.
Yes. So those would be hard stops, but there's nothing wrong with that.
Here's a suggestion for the board. If we go to weekly meetings, that the weeks that are not every 2 weeks that the postcards say, that's when we do kind of what I'd say our organizational business. Okay. We get the report from the subcommittees. We can make sure there's certain ones there. We can have more time with that. Still public comment if public shows up. But then on the 2-week meeting, kind of keep it almost the whole thing open for like we did tonight, to hear from the public.
To receive information.
Yeah, to receive information, because I don't think the public wants to, as an example of us discussing the contract, I mean, it still would be a public meeting, but those that want to know more about what are you talking about, or how is this going to impact me, this is more an administrative thing that won't really impact you, but what this is for will, and that would be a better time if we have a meeting just on those things, just a thought. And if we don't have any administrative things to do, then we don't need to meet that off week.
To complicate the situation, I would say people will want to know when you're going to meet, and they want the information, but at the end of the day, if they want to get up and ask a question, and they want to hear this back and forth that's going on, what I call meat to what is going on, then they'll expect it every time, and they won't know which one's an admin meeting compared to...
No, I just said we'll still talk to the public,
Yeah.
but since they weren't advertised on the postcards, we probably wouldn't have as much of the public. Just a thought, I mean, so that's...
Touche.
Well, I'm hard pressed to vote for doubling the number of minutes I have to prepare.
Yeah, I'm not, I don't know. I mean, I'm happy to have other people push back. I'm not sure that a meeting a week from now will put us in a position of having a lot more information that we were able to share back, because I feel like there's a lot of work that's being done at the subcommittee level right now. I would rather people, members of the public, use that opportunity to go to those meetings where they're gonna have some direct input into the thinking of those subcommittees. And then once that reverts back to us, then we'll have more meetings
I agree
here.
with that. I just want the public to know we're not afraid to do that. It's just, we don't want to waste your time, especially.
Yeah,
And-
but everybody has such limited time. I mean, we're all busy, so I would just rather ask people to direct their energies toward those subcommittee meetings and giving their feedback.
And those subcommittees would be wrapped by March 4th, so then if you wanted to go to a weekly meeting after that, and you could even...
Because then we can say to people, this is what's your proposal for, let's just say, roads, as somebody brought up. We can say, this is what the subcommittee recommended.
Yes, we will be able to actually answer questions as
Right.
opposed to just sort of
We're still in the process.
talking.
Yeah.
Anything else?
No.
Anybody else from the public?
Good evening. My name's Tim Crouch. I'm a lifelong resident of Monroe County and about a 30-some year resident of the Ellettsville area. And a couple of questions. First off, what you're doing, I think, is very ambitious if you're looking at later this year putting up, I mean, if I understand it, you're talking about a referendum later this year? Okay. You've got your work cut out for you.
Yes, we do.
Okay. Also, it appears to be your focus is that you're very interested in getting public comment. I, for one, and I don't know how many share my view out here, feel like that I'm kind of still in the dark. Not a lot of information, and maybe I just haven't went to the right places to find it. But one thing is, has there been any kind of master or overall scope plan on what you're proposing? Why, the issues that's going to be taken up into that process, the process itself, the timeline, the deadlines, anything like that out there that I have missed or I'm not aware of that would give me a better feel for why we're here, why we're discussing this, and what the intent is in the whole process. Okay? Number two, if you're coming back to the public with intent of convincing us to vote either yay or nay on an issue like this, when is there going to be a final document that we can look at, that actually we can dig into to find out what the ideas, the reasoning, the value, the other issues associated with to convince me that I'm going to, when's that going to be available?
Yeah, I mean, Darla and Eric, weren't we looking at probably May or June?
We need to get to Baker Tilly a draft plan so they can finalize it, and then we're hoping to get the reorganization plan to the council and the township board by end of May.
Okay, so before the end of May.
Very aggressive.
It is.
That timeline is because there are state requirements we have to hit.
Right.
It's not the timeline we would have ideally picked for work of this scope.
Well, yeah, okay, I understand that. But again, it's very aggressive, especially
luckily-
if you're convincing the citizenry that this is a good move, okay?
Well, that's just when the plan would be available, and then you've got from then until November.
Right, but again, if you're talking about a referendum in November, and then I assume that once the final document's out there for people to digest, then you're going to have public meetings on that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we can discuss what's in the document with you, clarify things, ask questions, raise issues that we may have concerns with, those types of things. So I'm just trying to wrap my head around, how this is going to work. I'm very interested in being involved and want the best for the community. Not saying whether I agree that this is a good move or not at this point. The final question I have, and it's really more questions than anything, and that is that your subcommittees meetings, I assume that they're open to the public.
Mm-hmm.
Are those posted with information indicating the topics that will be discussed in those subcommittee meetings at the time, so me as a citizen can show up with that, with questions and issues centered around what the subcommittee focus should be?
They've been on the website, haven't they, Mike and Denise?
Yes, and we've been sending out postings when a meeting's about to happen, and it goes to website, Facebook.
It's almost a weekly thing.
Hi Neighbor, yeah.
But is there once, the website
Yes.
that was mentioned, is that one central point that we can go to get all information?
So on the subcommittees, because the subcommittees are made up of the citizenry, they've got to decide week to week when they're going to meet. There's not a hard, because everybody's schedule's different. So it's not it's not something that you can plan from now until, for the next 3 weeks.
What I'll do is tomorrow, I already made a note, I'll talk to our people that keep the information out there and see if we can come up with a calendar that would be updated every day that a new meeting is scheduled, because.
And then I'll make sure that gets on the website, so you do just have one point of information.
Yeah, that would be great, because
Okay.
obviously, again, if the intent is also with the subcommittee is to get public input, then, yeah, as most, and I understand coordinating people is difficult, scheduling is difficult, but again, if the key is getting public input, then we have to have an opportunity to be able to provide that and know when to show up to do it. And generally, what are the topics or what are the general discussion points are going to be involved at that subcommittee level?
Well, there's 7 subcommittees, so like one's planning and zoning, so they'll handle all the issues.
I don't think those subcommittees are going to be producing an agenda prior to each meeting.
So no agenda outlining specifics or anything like that that we
Well-
can look at beforehand?
Yeah, there will be.
They have the objectives that they have to follow.
Yeah,
Is that something we could
post
post
those
those objectives?
I have to, let me see here, because committee members, the website doesn't, but it should have all the subcommittee members' contact info on there also. I thought it did, maybe just, do you remember seeing?
We never discussed putting contact info of private citizens on the subcommittees on that website. We put our public emails on it.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right. So, I guess they can email us. I'm gonna try to just make sure we get the calendar as you guys book the stuff and have him put on the website, because you're right, we'd be putting, I mean, they're not elected officials or anything like that. They're,
When all else fails, you can call the clerk's office. She's not here tonight. And you can call the clerk's office and ask for that information. It'll get to me, and I'll get it to, I'll get it back to individuals. And like I said, we're gonna try to post all this too. But if all else
Yes.
fails and you're interested and you don't think you're getting the information, you call the clerk's office and you'll get personal service.
Okay, well, I would urge you to try to, as information is gathered and as the various groups interact, to try to put as much information out as you possibly can, if indeed you are indeed interested in public input.
and we definitely are, because we can't do this without it.
I can tell you, if you just come to the town hall every night at 6 o'clock for the last 2 weeks,
I'll
there's
keep that-
something going on. I'm telling you, because I've been here, so
keep
you
that
can
in mind.
almost not miss. And if you're lucky enough and the lights are out, you get to go home. So,
I'll say the subcommittees we have.
Thank you.
Finance, public safety, planning and zoning. There are longer names than that. Parks and recreation.
Cemeteries.
And cemeteries, yeah.
Governance,
But governance and water, wastewater, and sewer.
And I just wanted to make another clarifying comment, because I realize that a lot of people attending are hearing some of this for the first time. I'm going to ask somebody to correct me if I say something that's wrong here, but as far as the role of this committee goes, we are tasked with putting together a proposed reorganization plan. Once that passes out of this committee is finished at that point. And then it goes to the town council and the township board, and then ultimately, if they pass it, to the voters. Some people involved in this committee may then take on sort of an advocacy role, I would imagine, and some may not, as far as the plan goes. But while we have our opinions on where we think we're going, ultimately, our job on this committee is to find facts, put together a plan, and then we hand it off. Hopefully that helps. Am I correct in that?
Yep.
Okay.
All right. Oh, sir, yes, thank you.
If I may, I applaud you guys for what you're doing. I just want to be clear about something that I see is confusion, and that is the input from the public. and everybody wants information and all that, and you're compiling all this and you're making decisions. But when it comes down to the final, I would say that's the final. No more discussion of, well, why are you doing it this way or that? So when it comes September or whenever this is finalized, we get the final report. That's what's locked in. That's what we're voting on.
That's correct.
Yes, once it gets
Okay,
sent to
that's
the
what we're
state, it
voting on.
cannot be
No more public input of, let's change this and let's change that. Well, where did you come up with that at? You know, that's what these meetings, if you're having it every 2 weeks, we should be here, we should be commenting, we should be informed. If you guys will have prepared some things that will give us information, because we're all wanting information. This is all, it's new to me. I wasn't even aware of anything until I got a postcard. And that's the reason I'm here. But once it's finalized, and we need to make the public aware. There's no more input, there's no more discussion. So I hope that's the way it is. It's not going to be changed right up to the day we actually vote on it, and then I don't know what changes have been made.
It legally can't be.
Once it goes
So-
to the state, it's done. We cannot
Okay.
change
Right.
anything. So in
Right.
June, I think that's the
And if
date
there's
when it,
something people really want to lobby for,
I
then the
wanna-
new council.
I want to know what's locked in solid
Yep.
before I vote, and there's no more discussion on it, okay?
Doesn't
Thank
the
you.
language say that both the town council and township board have to pass substantially similar?
yes.
So once those do that, and they're voted on, that would be what's submitted to the state. So everybody will have, it should be all their questions. I mean, I shouldn't say all their questions, everybody's gonna have questions, but,
And William, it isn't that the plan is going to try to spell out the exact details of implementation for every single thing. Some of those details will be determined by the reconstituted, reorganized governing body
correct.
starting in January if the referendum passes. But all the big picture pieces and an understanding of the general impacts of across all the services, that has to be really clearly locked in for the document for public vote.
Thank you. I'm Michael Richardson. I'm on the subcommittee on the planning, but I want to address the information. I also work for the United States Postal Service, and I want to explain something why those postcards were so delayed. We had a trucking company called 10 Roads Trucking that went bankrupt and kind of left the Indianapolis area without some possibilities of trucking. So the mail sat in Indianapolis for quite some time, but we couldn't get it out. The snow was no help. Some of your mail sat in Bloomington for 4 or 5 days before it even got to the routes. So I don't think no one's blaming for the tardiness of the mail. It was late, of course, but there were some hardcore reasons, and not because they didn't do their job, we didn't do ours. So that I just wanted to address the reason for the tardiness of that mailing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
On that note, this meeting's adjourned.